everybody. Welcome back. Season 2, episode number 7 of the Fantasy Cast. No guest with us today.
No.
Just Ty and I today. Again, he's Ty White. I'm Lachlan McTagg, back with you here on the Fantasy Cast. Back to basics. No full part-timer. No boss man's not here again to give us some entertainment.
What a fun
that was certainly an entertaining episode last episode. Yeah. I will say that.
It was awesome. Great. Yeah. Always great to have Christian on. Not so much when we pick starts and sits, and you'll find out about that a little bit later.
Yeah.
We're not blaming that. Don't worry, Christian. We're not blaming that all on you.
No, definitely. Yeah, no, it's just some of the gut picks didn't work out as planned, which, it happens, it stuff happens. It's fantasy football. Literally anything can happen. That's the beauty of that. But anyway, before we get into the episode, Ty, I know it's been a pretty busy week for you. Same with myself. How is it in Toronto?
It's good in Toronto. School's getting very busy, especially work schedule. Men's hockey home opener, I'm working that tonight, and then the women's basketball tournament. But I came off of my reading week and had a fantastic reading week. Canadian Thanksgiving, as we talked a little bit before last episode. And then I was fortunate enough, I got to go visit a good friend. Shout out to Gordy McDonald at the University of Notre Dame, where he is a male lifting cheerleader, which is actually really, really cool. Got a bunch of awesome swag, Notre Dame stuff. The game was amazing. The tailgate was amazing. And I'm ND fan for life now. That was an incredible experience. So I had a great time, restful, but now I'm back to work. Locke, tell us about how was that volleyball game that you plugged last episode?
I had a pretty entertaining weekend. First of all, went to the first ever game at Mullet Arena for ASU hockey. It was their home opener. It was crazy. Everyone wore white in the stadium. It was a whiteout.
Oh, nice.
Who else but Josh Doan, the local kid, scored the first goal in Mullet. And for our YouTube viewers, I got a little bit of a voucher too. They gave us these wooden plaques that has it's in kind of like ticket style, and it basically acknowledges that you were at the first ever ASU game at Mullet Arena, which is pretty cool.
That's amazing.
I'll be keeping that for a long time.
Wait, do you mean Shane Doan's son?
Yeah. So Shane Doan's son. If for any of you don't know hockey, Shane Doan, longest serving member of the Coyotes, longest serving captain of the Coyotes, Coyote for life. Now in the front office of the organization, just a cornerstone of the franchise, I'd say, in general. And his son Josh is a very, very talented player. Grew up in the area watching his dad play for the Coyotes, and actually got drafted by the Coyotes in 2021. He was a second round pick, and now he's one of the captains of the Arizona State hockey team in his sophomore year here at the school. And just a tremendous player.
That's amazing.
It was. There was a big bet going on before the game of who's going to score the first goal, and everyone just your fallback answer is always Josh Doan. It's got to be him. And sure enough, he goes in alone on a breakaway. He misses the first shot, but then gets the rebound and pots it home. And then, the crowd goes nuts. And the thing about that arena too is the atmosphere. It's so intimate. There's not a bad seat in the entire house. I can't wait to see Coyote games because. No, I'm being serious.
No, I know you're being serious.
In the student section, it's $25, and literally, I could be at the top. I could be at the top of the bowl, and have just elite seats for NHL hockey. It's insane how close you are and how intimate the arena is. There is also the Shaq's Big Chicken or whatever that's called, that restaurant stuff. I can confirm that's in the Mullet Arena. I did not try the chicken sandwich. One of my friends who went to the game with me tried it, and he said it was like an 8.8 out of 10.
Wow.
So the sandwich looked really good, by the way. But yeah.
So you gotta try it next game. Let it and check back.
Yeah, I'm going again this Saturday. Colorado College is in town, so a bunch of friends and I are gonna go on Saturday. But the Mullet was insane. Great arena, great atmosphere. I think we're wearing gold.
Oh.
This weekend.
Always the best jerseys. ASU.
Yeah.
The best jerseys.
Yeah. They wore the baseball style inspired jerseys. They had yellow gloves too.
Oh my God.
They were pretty nice. But anyway, then that was Saturday night. And I got to rest up because Sunday I'm calling a ASU versus Stanford women's volleyball game. And
Wow.
this is my first time doing, one, radio play-by-play, and two, doing any kind of play-by-play at the school. And it was a great atmosphere in general, like so much fun. We got there super early, like walking into like Desert Financial Arena where they play. Like it's pretty run down on the concourse. Like yeah, no, like I'll be honest, it's pretty run down. Like it's nothing special, but getting the feeling like walking down the tunnel and then just all of a sudden an empty arena.
Yeah.
Like it kind of takes you, it takes you a second to kind of realize where you are, because the arena's, that's probably like a 12,000 seat arena that they got there, right? So you're walking in and all of a sudden you look around, you're like, oh my God, like holy crap, like this is
real.
legit. Yeah. So we walked up, we set up our equipment and got our stuff ready and prepared. And I think both of us did really well. I mean, the guy I was calling it with, my friend Jaden Taylor, he's a volleyball guru through and through. This guy knows the game more than anyone I've ever met, to be honest. And I think we worked really well together, and it was a ton of fun. That's a ton of fun. But I mean, yeah, like, so I want to hear more about the Notre Dame experience, because I remember you were telling me before the show, I mean, like it's just so much different in the US versus Canada. And I even saw that at ASU, and ASU's, I mean, they show it with the record this year, like not really like a football school per se. And my first football game I was blown away by the whole experience. So I mean, Notre Dame's a football school. So please tell me more about that.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it was like absolutely incredible. I've been on NFL games before. I've experienced nothing like that. Even the tailgating, like that, it rivals like Buffalo to a sense. Like it's very, very cool like that. And then, although they did lose 16-14 to Stanford, good rivalry, amazing game. It's a night game, 7:30. That was really fun, especially when you're having fun from like 9 a.m. all the way up until the game. So that it's a different experience, but lots of fun. The campus itself too, absolutely beautiful. Very, very old, so pretty. Like, I love my country, I love Canada, but nothing compares in Canada to schools in the United States.
It's just a different scale.
Absolutely.
It's just a different scale. There's different funding, different marketing. Like it's just
100%.
And again, like ASU is not a football school, but when I went to the first football game, I just like, wow, it's
incredible.
Yeah.
Even ASU, who like they have had top 25 teams, but obviously, like you said, Notre Dame's a huge for football, and incredible, especially when you walk in and there's literally like 80,000 people, like, and it's not 80,000 people in a huge stadium. It's like a condensed, more packed in stadium. So it's very like real up close experience.
The atmosphere must just be electric.
It was so much fun. When someone scores a touchdown, everyone, they start lifting people. They get like fans start doing push-ups with like people on top of their heads. It's amazing. People go tarps off in the fourth quarter in the student section. So that's also fun, depending on how the weather is, I guess. But like an amazing experience. I highly recommend going to the US and watching a football game, a college football game. Incredible.
Yeah, I mean, again, we were saying too before the show, like if we got the opportunity, like I want to experience like an SEC football game. And it doesn't have to be like Clemson, doesn't have to be Alabama, it doesn't have to be the big, like I want to, like, let's go to like Ole Miss.
Yeah. Arkansas.
Go to Arkansas. You know, like those
South Carolina, something like that.
Yeah. I feel like those schools there, they just treat football so much differently because it is in a sense a religion.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so much different than the NFL is like, you obviously you have a very large contingency of students who are proud to support their school, but you also have a very large contingency of just regular kids and adults that just come out to these games. And that's what I was surprised too when I went to the football game and the hockey game too, is there's little kids repping ASU gear, there's parents repping ASU gear, there's all kinds of people repping the Sun Devils. And it's the same thing. And if you live in and around college towns, you have your professional team, but you also have your college team, and you stick by that and you live by that.
Absolutely. And it's a beautiful thing to grow up a fan and actually go to if you go to the university that you grow up a fan of. Very cool. We've been talking for a while now, but this is fun. It's a good conversation. I want to mention like Tennessee beat Alabama. And
the goalposts were in the river.
It was nuts.
They went to the river, Ty.
It was insane. Like that was really, really. And College Game Day was there. Peyton Manning was there. So many big people were there. That's crazy.
The moment was just so right for Tennessee to win that game.
Yeah.
Like, and to win the game in that fashion too, off like a half blocked field goal that like barely made it over the bottom crossbar. And I remember I saw the video of like the refs literally like signaled the field goal was good. And then they just like got the heck out of there because the students were rushing. And again, like I was part of the UW field rush, but it was nothing even close to like what, like that's like what a few thousand, probably like a couple thousand of us on the field.
Yeah.
That was like what, 75,000, 80,000 on that field, just packed, all wearing orange.
So many of them came down. I don't know what the exact number was, crazy. And then they mentioned it was like they pan up to the president of Tennessee and the guy of the University of Tennessee, and there's like, you're gonna pay for that? And he's like, I'll pay for it every year. We beat Alabama, and he's like smoking a cigar up in the booth. And it's crazy because I've actually been to Neyland Stadium. Not very legally. Well, I don't even know. Like we snuck onto the field in the off season, and there was just like the entrance was open. So we went by the field, and it was really cool. But to actually be there would be pretty insane. Oh, before I mention you at Notre Dame, I met Coach O. I met Ed Orgeron of the formerly of the Louisiana State Tigers. He was at a restaurant, so that was pretty neat.
What was he doing in South Bend?
That's a great question. Like he was like
probably women. I don't know. Like,
so that was so cool.
Can I say that? I don't even know.
I think you can. Joe Thousand was on campus. Dick Vitale was around. I wish I saw him. I didn't because all of his kids go there. That was amazing. Well, let's talk about fantasy football.
Yeah, we both had unique weekends.
Oh my god,
respectively. So I mean, fair enough.
Yeah, we hope you enjoyed those stories, by the way.
Yeah, seriously, that was good though. I mean, we'll start off, I guess. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to flip the switch quick here because this is gonna get grim in a second.
It's okay. It's a quick grim though. Brush over. Yeah.
So starts and sits from last week.
No.
Just ugly.
Let's tell you everything we got wrong, which is the majority of it.
Yeah. So first of all, on the starts category, told you to start Geno Smith versus the Cards. Geno Smith was looking good. We thought ride the hot hand, why not? He put up 12.6 for
and
a
our
quarterback.
Mark was 15.
For a quarterback, not ideal.
No,
not ideal.
Want a little bit more than that. Raheem Mostert had 5.8. I guess Christian's gut feelings aren't worth diddly squat. Thanks, Christian. 5.8. Lovely.
It's not it. There was a little bit of backing going into that though. Like there was justification for sure.
It could have gone very right, but it didn't.
Yeah.
Next one, we got Alec Pierce, I should say, at Jacksonville for the Colts. He had 13.9, put up a touchdown right at the end of the game. Very exciting, and that's one that we got right.
Another one we got right, Alan Lazard versus the Jets. He put up 17.6 in a losing effort to the Jets.
Yeah, Jets looking
at
good.
Home.
Yes.
That's
home.
Worrisome.
And then you saw Sauce Gardner put on that cheese head and go around taunting the fans. That was pretty funny.
Which is hilarious, I think. Which is hilarious.
It was really funny. Then he got knocked it off. Someone knocked it off his head. I forget who it was. Might have been Alan Lazard who knocked it off his head. Next one, and once again, Christian, looks like I'm not paying your fantasy football fee for the year. Mike Boone at the Chargers, 1.4. Solid 1.4.
He didn't really like get on the field.
No, he didn't get on the field. Neither did Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon was stuck on that sideline.
Yeah, not happy about it.
I remember they panned like to a shot of him, and he just looks so like
distraught.
He just looks so pissed on the sideline.
So poor guy. And as a Chargers fan, I mean, I feel for him. He used to be really good. I don't think he's washed by any means, but yeah, that was tough. Let's go to our sits. First one, first of many that we got wrong, and this is a surprise because for the most part during the year, we're extremely we're actually pretty decent at predicting starts and sits, but especially
our sits have been better than our starts, and our starts haven't been that bad.
No, our starts
if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Our sits have been very good, well over 500s. Like we were 19 for 24 coming into this week.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. We had a bit of a bad week. So Najee Harris at Tampa Bay, we told you to sit him. He had 12.9, but he did have a touchdown early on, and he didn't do too much apart from that. So without that touchdown, we were right, but he did get one against Tampa Bay.
I'll get the back-to-back Bills here because we went bold, picked the Bills back-to-back, which in hindsight was a terrible mistake.
Very bad decision.
Terrible mistake. I don't know how I approved that in my mind, but terrible mistake.
Yep.
Told you just sit Devin Singletary, which I was okay with because I don't know. I thought this would be more of a passing game thing, and it certainly was to an extent.
Yeah.
And by the way, I didn't watch a single snap of this game because that was when I was doing the volleyball calling and preparation. So my phone was off for that whole time. So I just watched highlights afterwards. But Devin Singletary put up 14.7 at KC in a massive Bills W, by the way.
Huge.
And we told you to sit Gabe Davis as well at KC. He didn't get a lot of targets.
Nope.
But he had that one sneaky touchdown that just put him well over the thresholds. And I mean, again, hindsight, why would we pick against Gabe Davis when he torched KC in KC?
That's a wonderful question. We did think about our sits more this week. Hopefully they'll be better. Next, J.K. Dobbins at the Giants. We got that absolutely correct, 1.5 points. That's our only sit that was correct this week. And finally,
that was probably that was easily the safest sit on this list too.
Yeah, for sure. The final one was Trevor Lawrence at Indianapolis, who actually proved us wrong for the first time this year. He had 24.9 points, decent week. Not bad at all. And then we got our defense right, Rams versus Carolina. They had 11 points, well over our 5-point mark. So that's wonderful. But at the end of the day, 4-11, awful, complete garbage. We'll improve this week. That's a fancy cast promise. That might backfire if we go 0-11.
I can't imagine that's got to be a low point. Like, I imagine we'll tie that one week, maybe
in the future.
But if we go below that, then we've got an issue.
That'd be very, very bad.
Then it's either an issue or injuries at that point.
100%.
Double I.
Let's go on to, what do you want to do?
We can go waiver wire first.
Do waiver wire.
You got some funny ones here. I'll keep the more obscure one for last, but we're starting with Kenyon Drake on the waiver wire.
Yep.
Simply because the Ravens running game, again, we'll talk about this later, but the Ravens running game is very iffy. Kenyon Drake also had 19 last week with a touchdown and kind of took a lot more snaps than J.K. Dobbins.
Yes.
And not kind of, he very much so did take the majority of snaps from J.K. Dobbins, which was interesting and has a lot of fantasy managers questioning, including myself, what the value of J.K. Dobbins is. And again, we'll talk about that later. But a good potential pickup for the future. And again, J.K. Dobbins is questionable right now. He didn't practice yesterday because of a knee issue. And again, he's coming off that ACL. So Kenyon Drake could be a good backup pickup off the waiver wire. Little sneaky ad for you there.
Yep, sure.
Next waiver wire pick, Robert Tonyan. He also had 19 points last week. I will say he's very touchdown dependent, but Aaron Rodgers looks for him quite a lot in the red zone. And with the lack of receiver depth on Green Bay, I think Tonyan is just such a proven target in the red zone that Rodgers can't not look his way. And he is also a very, very athletic and versatile tight end. So I think he's a very good waiver wire ad if he's still available. And last one.
Oh my.
Receiver on the Giants, Wan'Dale Robinson.
I like how you had to preface that, who he played for and what his position was. Who? Wan'Dale Robinson. Wan'Dale Robinson. Locke, he had 12 points last week. Believe it or not. Against the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, the Giants are picking it up too. And with the uncertainty as to like who Daniel Jones is going to throw to, Wan'Dale Robinson, his targets have been increasing week over week.
Mm-hmm.
Good sign.
Very, very good sign. Not to mention, if you take a little look at the Giants' schedule coming up, this is a great reason to pick him up. Or if you're looking at another Giants player, then they have Jacksonville, followed by Seattle, followed by a bye week, then Houston, then Detroit, and then Dallas, and the Commanders 2 times before the end of the year. If that's not one of the best defensive schedules you've ever seen in your life, then I don't know what is. I mean, very promising.
The Giants, if they keep their form up and can limit mistakes on the offensive side of the ball, they could make a serious run, and they could if they can keep building every week. That Dallas game, the next time they play the Cowboys, could be a highly contested game yet again.
100%. Very, very fun to watch too. That would be very fun to watch.
Because I mean, I think we know that they're going to lose to the Eagles. The Eagles are just flat out a better team than them. I think Dallas is also a better team than the Giants, but you never know when a team just kind of puts it together what can happen out there, right?
But this is one of those kind of teams that could hand Philly their first loss, like really come out of the blue and surprise people. And then, I could definitely see that happening. 3 waiver wire pickups for you. Boom. One of them is in our starts and sits as well that we won't actually mention right now, but we'll have to go a bit later. Locke, let's get into the buds with duds.
Yeah, a couple quick ones here. First of all, running back Jeff Wilson Jr. 0.5 points. Tough week for the Niners as they lost to the Falcons.
Falcons, baby.
The Falcons look all right, man.
They look more than all right.
They're missing Cordero. I just wish they would, throw to Drake London a little bit more. But, it's all good. Next one, another running back on a big team that lost. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 3.3 points.
Yeah.
Tough. And now you kind of managers, including myself, reevaluating his value and what his worth is in that offense. Personally, I think everything in the long run will be okay.
Me too.
I think he's a solid piece of that offense.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to stop using him. I just think it was an off week against a good Buffalo defense.
Yeah, you have to look when they were playing. Buffalo and your game plans and analytics, they change for a team like that. It's much more pass heavy, especially when, you look at Buffalo's D-line linebackers, they know very well how to play the run, and it doesn't help when Clyde didn't see too many targets. He was a non-factor in that game. Yeah,
he was more of a blocking factor, just as in case the Bills would rush their linebackers, which they absolutely did.
Yeah.
Last bud with dud, Cortland Sutton. Not his fault. It's just the Broncos in prime time suck.
But you'll love to see it.
Oh my God, it's great.
As a Chargers fan,
it's great.
It's beautiful.
Wait, what's Seattle's record? I think Seattle has a better record than Denver right now.
Yeah, they do.
Which is amazing. I love that.
It's a beautiful football story, and I know a Broncos fan. They're a couple of my program. I feel for them because they're actually nice people, but the Broncos have a phenomenal defense. By the way, Mike Williams did nothing in that game, and that was because he was locked up.
That Monday night game that Monday night overtime was just defensive stand after defensive stand. Like if the one blocker on special teams had actually done his job and not get run over by whoever that was in the Chargers and forcing the muffed punt, they probably would have tied that game.
Yep.
Honestly, they probably would have tied.
Yeah. But before we move on, our last bud with Dud, who's also in that game, he had 8 points, Justin Herbert. I hate to say it as a Chargers fan. That being said, it's because he didn't throw for a single touchdown. That doesn't really help. But they got the win. Dustin Hopkins, I love you. 4 field goals on when he can't even stand up. You're a man.
He has to. What's the injury report on him this week? Because I haven't heard a whole lot.
I have no idea. If he doesn't play, I don't know what happens. We go for it on every 4th down. That's nothing really new for the Chargers. I think we go for it a little bit too much, but exciting times. Very exciting times. Let's go on to this week starts and sits. Hopefully we'll improve on that 4-11 threshold. Let's go the first one. I'll start us off, Lachlan. We have Kenneth Walker III. In case you didn't tune in the last episode, someone who I actually traded for with good old Ryan Bryden, a close friend of ours. He's facing the Chargers this week. He had a great week last week, had a touchdown and I believe 92 to 95 yards or something like that. He's the number 1 back for Seattle. He's looks to be getting better each week. Hopefully he can stay healthy for all fantasy managers. But I think he's a decent play against the Chargers this week because Seattle's actually pretty hot team with Geno Smith. And that offense is doing all right. Kenneth Walker's certainly doing all right as well. And the Chargers are a little banged up on defense.
Next one, we got Josh Reynolds against the Cowboys, coming off a bye week for the Lions. Since week 2, he's had 12, 15, 21, and 15.
Yes.
He's been emerging slowly up that depth chart. As I mean, a lot of teams are keying in on Amon-Ra St. Brown, obviously, as he is the number one wide out there. But Josh Reynolds, solid amount of targets. He's had double-digit targets in 2 of his last 4 weeks, and touchdowns as well in 2 of his last 4 weeks. Very, very promising. A lot of upside. If he's on the waiver wire, claim him.
Definitely get him.
Definitely get him, because if he's on the waiver wire in your league, like it's crazy.
He's a fantastic flex start. Not to mention, he's also on, I believe they're still the highest scoring offense in the NFL.
Yeah, one of the most fun teams to watch for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, Josh Reynolds is a start against the Cowboys this week.
Let's go to our next one. We got Chris Olave at Arizona. What a rookie he's turning out to be out of Ohio State, playing for the Saints of New Orleans. He's had 11, 23, 18, and 15 in his last 4 games, which is absolutely insane. He's playing amazing. He's getting plenty of targets. And he's a player who also grabs touchdowns. He does a little bit of everything. And against the Cardinals defense that has been struggling a bit, we recommend that you play him.
In that same game, our next start, DeAndre Hopkins. Welcoming this man back to the NFL this season, making his season debut after serving suspension.
Yep.
Thursday night football tonight, actually, in Glendale, Arizona.
Yes.
My neck of the woods a little bit.
Yeah.
DeAndre Hopkins and the Cardinals. They're wearing their black jerseys tonight.
Oh, clean.
Very, very clean. In prime time. Call of Duty doesn't come out till like Saturday, I think. So Kyler Murray's passer rating is still going to be pretty decent. And Robbie Anderson will still be a decent player as well.
Yeah.
But DeAndre Hopkins is the man to focus on tonight. And I think he's a surefire start, because I think he's going to come out of the gates hot and ready. And the connection between him and Kyler Murray will be reignited.
I don't think he's been sitting around just twiddling his thumbs waiting to play. I think he's been, like you said, I think he's pretty ready for this Thursday nighter. Our final one. Oh my good Lord. Do you see the name that we have written down here, Lachlan? He's a man by the name of Bailey Zappe. And he also took Mac Jones' starting job as of right now. He's playing very well for the Patriots. The Patriots have a great defense as well. They're playing Chicago. This is not only a waiver wire pickup and someone who you should keep until you find out what the Patriots are actually going to do with their quarterback situation. By the way, Mac Jones is reportedly unhappy at the situation there, probably because Zappe's.
I would also reportedly be unhappy if I was in Mac Jones's spot, but
yeah, I think anyone would. And when Zappe throws for over 300 yards and a couple touchdowns, doing very well. We recommend you start him over Chicago, and that concludes this week's starts. Let's go to our sits. And I can go to start off here. We have Christian Kirk versus the Giants. Giants have just been playing phenomenally, especially on defense. And we're very, very happy to see that. I mean, the Giants have sucked for a little while now. The fact that they're actually doing well under Brian Dable is so refreshing. Christian Kirk as well. He's had 8, 3, and 10 in his last 3 games. That being said, the game that he had 10 points, he had a touchdown, but almost no targets in that, and maybe a few rushing attempts. So not too much volume there, and that's why we like him as a sit against the Giants.
Next sit. This one's a little bit safer, I won't lie, but it's Cole Kmet against New England. He's had 2 goose eggs, and his highest game total this season is 8.5 points. Mm-hmm. Just not a lot happening in the Bears offense, unfortunately. I mean, there wasn't really high expectations to begin with, but it's just not clicking with Justin Fields right now. Yeah. And it's tough to watch, unfortunately. Yeah. It's very tough to watch. And again, just a surefire sit.
That's the biggest problem. Like, is Fields in that offense. I mean, he's a great player. He's very athletic. Actually went to Notre Dame too, I believe. But yeah, just not seeing many targets. Too bad for Cole. Next up, we have Jerry Jeudy versus the New York Jets. We like this because, one, again, the New York Jets are playing extremely well defensively. Very, very good there. Jerry Jeudy's had 8 and 8 in his last 2. He gets between 7 and 8 targets again, but similar situation with Cole Kmet. The person throwing him the ball is not necessarily having the greatest stretch of his career. That'd be Russell Wilson. But he's a good player, not getting the receptions, between 3 and 4 receptions a game on 7 or 8 targets. You'd be hoping he had more volume. But we like him this week, or we don't like him this week, I should say, against the Jets.
And speaking of Russell Wilson, he's still questionable this week to play because he's got a hamstring issue that's lingering on him. So he's not guaranteed to play this game, although I can't imagine he'd miss a start because he's usually so durable. I mean, the stats have come out, obviously, of how much money he spends every year on his body and recovery. So I can't imagine he misses the start. But something to be noteworthy is that he is dealing with a hamstring issue at this time. Next sit here is Kareem Hunt. And this is a tough one because obviously Kareem Hunt wants out of Cleveland, but I don't think he's going to be properly utilized until Deshaun Watson takes control of this offense.
Yeah.
I think once Deshaun takes control of this offense, I think Kareem Hunt will be involved a little bit more. I also think the talents of the likes of Amari Cooper will be unlocked a little bit more, and it won't just be one-dimensional with Nick Chubb running it up the gut every 3 downs. But again, Kareem Hunt, 8-14-1 in his last 3 games. Not great. Not great. And again, with a backup QB in that system until Deshaun comes in, I don't think it's going to get much better for him, unfortunately. So we're sitting him this week against a good Baltimore defense as well.
Absolutely. Finally, we have AJ Dillon versus Washington. We like AJ Dillon. We think he's a good player. That being said, he's had 9-3-2 in his last 3. And Washington, sometimes they can show up defensively. I mean, they certainly have the players to do so. Stopping that run game, of course, but you're going to be in a game like this. You want to rely on a player like Aaron Jones to help get you back into a winning rhythm after coming off a loss against the Jets at home. So we like AJ Dillon as a sit this week. Finally, our defense and special teams sit. We're going with the Buccaneers over Carolina.
Sorry, Panthers. We picked you back-to-back weeks, but it's just too easy.
Is that cheating? I don't think so. But hopefully, or we like them to get at least 6 points this week. And that concludes our starts and sits.
Yeah, you guys got to cut us a break a little bit on the defense. I mean, we only pick one defense.
Can't be gambling too much there. We want to keep the overall record fairly decent.
We gotta go at least 1 for 11.
So hopefully we'll improve on last week's and get a little bit better from there. But now we're going to be going on to our final little bit of our show, and that's going to be our fantasy question of the week. Usually I'm the one who starts off saying this, but we have a very, very good answer from our main man, Lachlan McTagg. And Locke, the fantasy question of the week this week is, what is going on with the Ravens running back situation? What should you look for, and how does it affect fantasy football?
Oh boy, there is layers to that question, let me tell you.
Plenty.
So obviously we have J.K. Dobbins coming off the ACL last year. Uncertainty as to when first he was going to start the season, and he debuted, I believe, in week 3.
Mm-hmm.
And the running back situation the first couple of weeks was mostly just Lamar Jackson. And he was just kind of passing to Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews the whole time, and then just like QB rushing it himself.
And it was working.
And it was working very well. But then you add Kenyon Drake to the mix, and Kenyon Drake's an interesting guy because he was a proven number 1 running back for the Dolphins.
Yes.
And then he went to Arizona and just kind of didn't quite fit in. And then he went to the Raiders, I believe, last year. It was just behind Josh Jacobs, and he's bouncing around. Now he finds his way on the Ravens. By the way, for the Ravens, good quality signing considering Josh Jacobs' uncertainty coming off the ACL surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously now there's even more questions because Dobbins has only really gotten fed the ball once this season when he had 19 points because he had a touchdown. And again, Lamar was just feeding him the ball all day long. And that's what initially, I drafted him because I thought later down the road in the season that would be the case, but it just hasn't come to fruition so far.
Yeah.
And last game, I mean, a 20-point outing by Kenyon Drake with a touchdown. He had over 115 yards rushing in that game. But I want to point out something interesting on Lamar Jackson's front. So Lamar Jackson has had, when Lamar Jackson has more rushing attempts, and specifically a rushing touchdown, he has 42 and 39 points respectively. Wow. So when Lamar Jackson rushes the ball more himself, the Ravens offense in turn has more success, and Lamar in turn has more success. Because as you note, both of those games were Miami and New England, and that Miami game was just a shootout. And obviously they had a great game against New England as well, and that was a direct byproduct of Lamar Jackson's running. So as of right now, I would steer clear of the Ravens running game situation until a clear running back emerges as this is our guy. This is who we're going with, whether that's Kenyon Drake, whether that's J.K. Dobbins, whether that's Lamar Jackson. Because right now it's just too uncertain to start anyone but Lamar Jackson. Obviously, at the quarterback position, you'd be stupid not to. But I wouldn't start either Dobbins nor Kenyon Drake at this point in time until someone emerges.
Very good answer. I love that Lamar analysis in there as well, because obviously when you have a running quarterback, you have to take that into account. That's that. And I remember a few years back, that was like a huge problem with I think it was Tennessee's offense, because Ryan Tannehill just kept keeping the ball and scoring rushing.
Oh, yeah, and he'd do his dinky little finger roll.
Stupid little Jordan finger roll. And it would take points away from Derrick Henry.
But I mean, it's in the same category can be said for Miles Sanders in a way. Because again, Miles Sanders is a great running back.
Yeah.
But he's being utilized almost, I wouldn't say wrong, but just
differently. For sure.
Differently in a way. And same with Dobbins, because Dobbins was dominant in Ohio State. Absolutely. At Ohio State. Right. And obviously you saw what Miles Sanders was doing at Penn State as well.
Yeah.
Like those guys are pure running backs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you put them in an option system where they have to block, because, your running back is also pretty athletic, and it just makes for a bit of confusion sometimes with fantasy managers because they know what they can be, but when they don't fully live up to it because they feel like they're being held back by a scheme, then it becomes frustrating.
100%. You could say the same thing too with like the Falcons offense. Sometimes Cordero has a fantastic week, and other days maybe he has 8 or 9 because Mariota loves keeping the ball. He had a couple of rushing touchdowns to beat the Niners there. Something to consider. And ultimately with this Ravens team, how does that affect trading, you might ask yourself? And it's a tough situation because as of right now, you could sell somewhat high, but if someone like Kenyon, you could buy extraordinarily low, in my opinion,
exactly. on J.K.
Like
Dobbins, and that's what I have Dobbins on my team, and that's what I'm looking out for right now. Is I've seen a couple people have interest in him just to try and maybe buy low, but I don't know, I just want to hold him right now and see where his value's at.
For sure, but in other leagues, why not? Especially if you're struggling, if you want to take a chance for something like that, that's certainly something you could look for to buy low. And even when someone like Drake establishes himself, or maybe potentially establish himself as a number one, you could sell pretty decently high, and then who knows what happens from there. But that's our fantasy question of the week. Good episode this week, a little bit of a longer one, but it was fun, especially at the beginning. We talked about some great stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And noteworthy here is that we are playing each other in one of our fantasy leagues this week. So
yeah,
that'll be fun.
Big clash.
I hope I can win because I'm 3-3 and you're 5-1, and that's just not okay.
I remember last year I think we played each other, obviously we did play each other, but last year we played each other and we talked about it on the Fantasy Cast. I think you got the better of me that week. I'm pretty sure you did, looking back. So,
I may have. I don't know.
Might be more the same this week.
Who knows?
Regardless, we hope you enjoy. Great week of football. Hope everything's going well from wherever you may be. And good luck in fantasy football, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to episode 7 of the Fantasy Cast. For Lachlan McTagg, I'm Ty White. We'll see you next week.